looking at the clock. All right, well, welcome to tonight's December Truth and Taxation meeting. Discussion is about the budget and how the levy relates to the budget and about how that is spread out among the property taxes. This is not about your property assessment, but if you have questions about your assessment and you want to appeal those, that generally goes on in the spring. But if you have questions about your assessment, we do have folks here from PRL, Property Licensing and Taxing, and they can answer your questions. Is there anybody here that is simply wants to talk about your property evaluations? Okay, in the back, right here.
I think
Right,
Julie,
right here. So if you want to just, you can rejoin the meeting if you want, but if you want to just step outside here and we'll have somebody talk to you about it.
Sure. And I'll take the county assessor. Julie Hackman
Okay,
is with me too, so, thank you.
all righty. Very nice. Okay, so we're going to start tonight's meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So, thank you very much. It's a special Pledge of Allegiance tonight because it is December 7th, and those of you remember, this is Pearl Harbor Day. So thank you to all the veterans that served in World War II. All right, we're going to start then with Wilfredo Roman Catala, and he's going to tell us all the information about the levy and the budget.
Thank you, Commissioner. And we have a sign sheet here. If you would like to address the board after my presentation, please feel free to include your name and address. Excellent. So good evening, everybody. My name is Wilfredo Roman Catala. I'm the Olmsted County Chief Financial Officer. And the intent, as described by the chair, right, the intent tonight is to help you understand and share with you information about Olmsted County budget and how that budget impact Olmsted County property parcels, but specifically addressing how the Olmsted County budget impact those parcels, not necessarily how all the taxes in the jurisdiction of Olmsted County impact those. So I'll cover a few things. Especially what entities have a role to play in the impact of property taxes, what factors come into play as well. In addition to that, I'll share a number of statistics related to property taxes, median, which means basically the middle of the road. When I use the word median, it's just the middle of the road for a particular subset of parcels in values. And then I also will use the term per capita. And basically what I'll be referring to is trying to create an average per person. So then we can use those numbers to compare ourselves to other counties and other jurisdictions. Because otherwise, the values in dollar values are difficult to assess from county to county. But when we bring those to a per capita value, it gives us a little bit of flexibility, a little bit of comparison. So without further ado, let's get started. Like I said, which entities play a role in our property tax? State government obviously have a role to play. They are the ones at the state level who the state legislature, they establish property classes, the class rates. They made a determination of what level of state aid we'll receive at the local level. In many cases, that state aid, what it does is reduces the burden on local properties. So the more we receive from the state, the lesser it should be the burden at the local level. They also set the amounts of the homestead market exclusion. That's not set by the county. They set the state general tax rate and any mandates to local governments. Many times we're required to provide services and not necessarily a one-to-one relationship about that service and the value that the state provides at the local level. Then obviously local governments like Olmsted County, the City of Rochester, city councils, townships, school districts, and others, depending on the amount of need they have from property taxation, so we can provide services to the residents of the county. We play a role in that. And then obviously the county assessor. And basically the county assessor, what it does is make sure that properties are properly classified and do the calculation of the property tax, but based on a prescribed formula by the state. So they don't have a leeway to decide how I'm going to calculate that. They need to have a prescribed way to do it, and they do that job very well. And then what factors will have an impact on our property taxes in Olmsted County? Well, obviously, changes in market value will have an impact. And not only on your particular individual property, but also in property in general, meaning if there's more construction, meaning that we can spread that throughout the different parcels. Changes to the local tax levies, meaning like Olmsted County, we're increasing the levy, that will have an impact on the property tax that you pay as an individual or parcel owner. New taxes approved by referendum, legislative changes to property classifications, rates, and like I mentioned before, state aid formulas or other laws, and any unfunded or not properly funded services and mandates that we're required to provide as a county. So those are kind of major factors that come into play. I just want to mention briefly here, there's a couple of avenues for when property tax increases are on the higher end. The state is providing a regular 2 levels of refunds to property owners or those who have homesteaded. There's a regular refund and also there's a special refund. I know that for the state have decreased the amount of the property, the value or the amount of tax increase by property used to be 12% and $100, now it's 6% and $100 to qualify for the special refund. More information about that you can find at the Minnesota Department of Revenue website. Many times we will do the reference of a local levy or local tax levy. And basically what that is the property tax revenue needed to support the services at the local level. So at Olmsted County, we say, what is the total proposed budget? How much revenue streams we have, how much income we have that is non-property tax related. We reduce that. And then what is left is being then supported by the local tax levy, AKA property tax. So I will use in those terms interchangeably here. Anytime you hear me talking about property tax and local tax levy, those things are kind of related. So here I would just want to share with you how this is just specifically to Olmsted County and the Olmsted County HRA. So in total, we're going to have about, for 2024 recommended combined levies is about $130,600,000. 125.6 million is from the county alone. That represents a 5.2% increase from 2023, or about 6.2 million. For the county HRA, the recommended levy is 4.9 million. It's about a 7.5% increase, or about 342,000 compared to the levy approved in 2023. So just remember those numbers. Later on, we're going to share those as a per capita figure, so we can identify how that compares to other counties in Minnesota. Here in this slide, in this graph, is just a historical representation of our property tax changes. Again, just the county only. So the bars represent the change in dollars, and the line, the black line here, represents the change in percentage. So for example, in 2024, I just already mentioned that the change in tax as a percentage is 5.2% and $6.21 million. That's the change. As you can see, historically, that numbers goes up and down depending on the situation and the needs of the community. As back in 2002, that change was 4.6 million, but it was 11.5%. So if you look over that 23-year history, we have the minimum, we have twice, we have 0% levy increase twice in 2012 and 2021. We have a maximum of 11.5% in 2002. The median, which is that middle point, 4.9%, that happened both in 2019 and as well as 2022. And then if you take just the average, you take all those numbers and divide it by the number of years, it's about 5.15%. So that's give you some perspective of where we have been and where we are now. Taxes in Minnesota are paid twice in both in May and in October, right? So if we think for a second about the taxes we're going to be paying in 2024, that journey of those taxes started way earlier than that. So first of all, if we have to go back and look at our assessor's office in order to create an assessment of properties, they also do a study period of property sales study period between October 2021 and September of 2022. We do that because the state law requires assessors to value property at the most likely selling price, and they have a range. I believe it cannot be lower than 90% or 105% in that range. So with that study, it helps the assessors make sure that what the analysis they're doing and comparing the properties is calculated with a high level of accuracy. So that's the intent there. Then based on that information, in March of 2023, the property assessors send the property tax statements for 2023 and also sends the valuation notices for the 2024 values. That is a critical point in time when we as residents need to say, okay, my values are going up. If I'm not satisfied with that amount, I need to go to my assessor and ask questions. And that's why we have this period of appeals between April of 2023 through June of 2023 to make that appeal and understand why things are the way they are. And then eventually, in November, we send the actual proposed tax statements were sent for those that will be payable in 2024. So that's kind of the journey and the long timeline related to how it is assessed, the process, and then the year gets paid. And then I'm sharing this information because it's important to understand that we have had a couple of, well, many years now, but the last couple of years, these sale prices have been quite high. And again, if we're using those sales prices as a measure to understand the assessment, we need to take that into consideration. So if we look at the city of Byron, for example, between 20 and 22 and 2021, the median sales amounts went up by 47,000 or 14%. In Oronoco, $63,750 or 14.5%. The city of Rochester, 29,450 or 10.2%. And in Stewartville, we see that the increase between 2022 and 2021, those median points, right? There's some that are less and some that are more, 41,500 or 16.7%. Again, those things will take into consideration from the assessor's perspective, what is happening with properties in our communities. So now we're going to start looking at our budget, and specifically, we look at the tax levy. So Olmsted County, if we just look at the county only, we are recommending $125.7 million just for the county. So again, just to bring that to a number that we can understand and compare to other counties, if we divide that by our population, the property tax per person equates to about $748 per person. That is about $20 more than it was in
SLV
2020.
is now joining.
Good, there are more people joining. It used to be in 2023, $728. Now for 2024 will be $748. Now we add the 4.9 million that I mentioned before from the HRA. Now we have a total combined 130.6 million of property taxes from county plus HRA. Now that new number of property tax per person will be $777, which is about $22 more than the prior year or the current year. That is $755 per person. And then you can see here, if we look at by division, the majority of the property tax is used on the Health, Housing, and Human Services division, almost 47%, or $365 per person. Those are for things like public health, helping our youth, making sure that our youth is protected, as well as helping vulnerable adults and things like that. And then the other, about 35%, goes to public safety. That goes to our law enforcement, attorneys, county attorney's office, our adult detention center, and corrections. So now, how do we compare? That's why we were building up this presentation with these per capita numbers, so we can compare ourselves to other counties. So Olmsted County here in the black, like I mentioned before, is at $748 per person. For year 2024, Olmsted County will rank number 34 out of 87 counties in property taxes payables per capita. So Olmsted County is lower than about 61% or 53 of the 87 counties. Dakota County here ranks number 1 of the lowest, 343, and not listed here, doesn't fit 87 counties in this presentation, is Cook County with about 2,200 per person. So now I have taken the liberty of dividing the residential parcels only. These are just residential. And I have taken the parcels that comprise about 72% of all the residential parcels. They are totaling about almost 40,000, 39,884. And then I have grouped them in groups of about, for example, here we'll see that this group that is the taxable market value between 200,000 and 249,999. The median, the middle point for that group, the cohort of parcels, the value is $225,500. There are about 10,738 parcels in that group. The county median tax is for that cohort of parcels is $939. The HRA median taxes are $38. And then other jurisdictions, that could be if it's the township, if the city, or the school district, is about $1,900. And then if you combine all of those, the county, the HRA, and everybody else, it's about $2,896. So that'll be the total tax, the median total tax for that type of property. Now, if we do the same exercise for all these, you'll see what they are. But then if we look at what the median is for this cohort, from 150,000 to almost 500,000, the median for that group is $268,800. That will be the median taxable market value. Again, these are almost 40,000 properties or parcels. The county median tax is about $1,100. The HRA is about $45. Other jurisdictions, $2,200, and the grand total for all property taxes, again, the median will be close to $3,400. So that'll be to give you an idea if your residence or your parcel resides or is included in one of those changes, those values that I mentioned. Obviously, there will be parcels that are lower and parcels that are much, much larger than that, but they represent about 30% of what is left or so. So now, what I have done in this slide that I'm going to share with you here is how the county and the HRA is impacting, how much those two property taxes combined are impacting the parcels from 2023 to 2024. So what we see here is that about 22.72% of the parcels, or almost 23% of those residential parcels, will experience a decrease in county and HRA property taxes in 2024 when compared to 2023. So those are going down between years. Now we have a group of cohort here. About 34% of the residential parcels will have their 2024 county plus HRA property taxes remain either the same or increase less than $50. And when compared to 2023, so the median for that group is about $23 for that group of parcels. That means the change between 2023 and 24. Now we have another group of properties, almost 30% here, of residential parcels that experience an increase in county and HRA property taxes between $50 and $149. And the midpoint for that group is about $83 here. Obviously, each parcel is unique. It will be either higher or lower, but that gives us some midpoints to compare and have a reference when we're comparing ourselves to others. And then the bottom group here, which I aggregated, would represent about 13% of all residential parcels, will experience an increase, which is above, is $150 or higher. Okay. So now, I have taken the liberty of aggregate the residential parcels based on the 2024 taxable or 2023 assessed and payable 2024 taxable market value from between the lower taxable market value, which will represent the lower quartile here, and then the higher taxable market value, which represents the biggest 25%. So in 4 groups, think about all those properties, parcels that are residential, and they're divided in 4 groups. Then we have taken parcels from each one of the midpoints here between these groupings. This one we call the 25 percentile. This one we refer to as the 50th percentile, and then the 75 percentile. And what we did was, in order to, without using a judgment, right, to be more objective, we pick parcels that have a taxable market value that falls into these areas, so then we can use them as comparison. So we went and looked at parcels in each one of the major, or 5 of the cities in the county, Rochester, Oronoco, Byron, Stewartville, and the city of Dover. And then select 3 parcels from each one of these cities, one at the 25, one at the 50th, and one at the 75. And as I'll show you, I'm going to show you at least 2, one, the grouping in Rochester and the grouping in Byron. The full presentation will include the other 3 cities, and that will be online, but I will not cover those tonight. But I just want to show you how those compare over time, what happened to the taxable market value and what is happening to those county taxes, and what is happening as well with the total taxes for those 3 parcels for each one of the cities. This is small here, but I'm gonna, with the wonderful opportunity of technology, we're gonna enhance this, and hopefully everybody can see this. So this is in the city of Rochester. And by the way, if somebody's interested in verifying my numbers, here are the tax IDs of one of these 3 parcels. The one at the 25 percentile parcel, we see that the taxable market value over time has increased $88,500, all the way from $122,000 in 2016 to $210,000 for the payable year 2024. Then we have the 50th percentile property here in the middle, the maroon color. The taxable market value has increased about $131,100 from $161,000 to $292,000. So about 81% in 8 years, or about 16,000 average per year. And I know I just use the average. I know some of these properties will have 1 or 2 years that the taxable market value really increase, but having the average will give us that a different perspective. And then the highest percentile, the 75th percentile, here in the upper line, it went from 204,000 to 374,000 between 2016 and 2024. The taxable market value increased $169,700, or 83% in 8 years, or about 21.2 thousand average per year. So now, those are the taxable market values. Now, how does that relate to the county and HRA taxes? Again, we're still in the city of Rochester here for these 3 parcels. So the lower level property has seen the taxes increase from $688 to $907. That is $219 or 32% in 8 years, which is about $27 on average per year. That's the county and the HRA. The maroon line, the one in the middle, the tax has increased from $908 in 2016 to $1,258 in 2024. That is about $350 or 39% in 8 years, or about $44 average per year. And the upper part here, the 75 percentile property or parcel, seen an increase of $461 from 1,151 to 1,612, or 40% in 8 years, which is about $58 average per year. So if we look at the information for still in the city of Rochester, and we now look at total property taxes. Again, I'm still in the same 3 parcels. The lower level, or the 25 percentile parcel, has seen total taxes increase $830, or 46%, from 1,820 to 2,650. That is about $104 average per year. The middle property here, or parcel, the 50th percentile, has seen an increase of $1,248, or 51% in 8 years, from $2,448 to $3,696. That is an average of $156 per year. And the upper level here, the 75 percentile, has seen an increase of $1,644, or about $206 on average per year. So that just gives us kind of a flavor, an idea of what is happening. Total taxes in Rochester versus HRA and Olmsted County property taxes in Rochester. Now let's do that same exercise for the 3 properties in Byron. And I know, hopefully, if you're suffering from insomnia, this is the place to come and present, because you'll be ready to go to sleep after this. So let's see if I can click on that. Oops. So again, we're in the city of Byron now. 3 different parcels. Here are the parcels ID for each one of the parcels. The 25 percentile, the same concept, has seen an increase of $125,200, or 129% in 8 years, or 15.7 thousand increase average per year. The 50th percentile has seen an increase of 158,500, equates to 131%, or about 19.8 thousand average per year. Again, these are the taxable market values. And the higher end property here for this grouping, the 75 percentile, has seen an increase of $217,300, or 124% in 8 years, about 27.2 thousand average per year. So now let's look at these parcels in Byron, and what is the county and HRA property tax look like. For the bottom property, the 75 percentile, it's seen an increase of $533, or 75% in 8 years, or about $67 per year in average. The middle property has seen an increase of $540, or 76%, about $68 average per year. And the 75 percentile has seen an increase of $731, or 71% in 8 years, or about $91 on average per year. So that's the county side. Now, if we look at what are the total taxes for these properties in Byron, these 3 parcels, the 75 percentile has seen an increase of $1,800 for the 8 years, about 73%, or $228 on average per year. The 50th percentile have seen an increase of $2,216, 99% increase in 8 years, or $277 average per year. And the 75th percentile has an increase of $3,016, 94%, or $377 average per year. Again, that's hopefully provides some perspective between, yes, taxes are going up, and taxable market values are going up as well, significantly. This shows the Olmsted County only tax rate, and basically what it is, this graph represents what is the need from the county as a numerator, that property tax revenue needed, which is the levy, and the total tax capacity, which is what is available, right? So what you see here, this number continues to decline as we see that in Olmsted County only. The reason being is that the total tax capacity, the denominator, is increasing at a higher rate than the numerator is. That's basically the answer for why that number is. So if you're taking a property between the property that did not change in taxable market value remained the same between 23 and 24, what you will see is that uh, Olmsted County property taxes will be lower. That's what that means. Obviously, properties continue to appraise and continue to appraise in value. So even though our local tax rates continue to decrease, property tax from the county may increase because of the combination of factors, which one of them is the increase in property valuation. So now that's all about the how we as an organization, as a local government, impact your property taxes. Now let's look at what the budget is on the revenue side, and this is just the county. Our total budget is $357.7 million. From that, as I mentioned a couple of times here, the majority of the funding comes from property taxes, 125.6 million, almost 125.7. It's about 35% of our where the money comes from or the revenue. Intergovernmental is about 28% or 100,000.8. I'm sorry, 100,826,000. And what is intergovernmental? Basically, money coming from the federal government, the state government, or even to, in some instances, any other local government sending a grant for whatever reason to the county. Then charges for services is the third largest revenue source for us, for Olmsted County, 13.5% or 48.4 million. Most of this number, because we have included in this budget our enterprise fund, the waste to energy facility, most of these 48 million come from those fees that are charged to dispose of our recyclables, solid waste, and things like that. Another significant amount comes from services that we provide on behalf of, or we have contracted to provide on behalf of certain medical, what am I trying to say here? UCare, Blue Plus, Blue Shield type of services that we provide on behalf of those entities. We do the assessment, we do the follow-up, and then they pay us directly for those services rather than charging the customer, right? We charge those organizations for the services that we provide. And then other financing sources. As a large organization, there's a need for capital. It could be either infrastructure, it could be equipment, it could be buildings. So we have the philosophy of financing for those capital items. Rather than saving for years and then spending the money, we issue debt, we issue bonds. By the way, we're a AAA rated organization, so we can benefit from lower interest rates. And then we finance those acquisitions, that equipment, from issuing bonds. And that's what other financing sources are. And our fifth largest revenue stream comes from transportation taxes, about 5.5% or almost 20 million come from local option sales tax, which is bear not only by people in the community, residents buying goods and services, but also anyone visiting Olmsted County and enjoying themselves here also will be paying local sales tax as well. Okay. So again, those are huge numbers, right? 357.7 million. How do we bring that to a number that is we can relate to and we can compare to other counties? So when we divide that big number by the population, we get these $2,129 per year per person, which is about $161 increase from 2023. Most of the expenses occur in physical development. You know, I mentioned waste to energy, infrastructure, heavy equipment and things like that happens within physical development. 44.8% or $954 per person per year to satisfy the needs of physical development. Also includes parks as well in that number. And then the second largest number is $760 per person per year, or 35.7% is for health, housing, and human services. Now, when we add the HRA to the equation, that number increases to $371.8 million, or $2,213 cost per person. And then if we look at how that compares to 2023, it increased by 174 per person. If you recall, at the local level from levy, it increased $22, but there's other funding streams coming in to the state, financing, whatever it might be. So that number is 174, much larger number. And then I just aggregated in this table the levy per person and the expenses per person comparable from year to year for any major areas. For example, here we have aggregated criminal justice or public safety together. So we have the $275 levy versus the $379 per person expenses, and so on and so forth. And what you can see, you have highway maintenance here at the bottom, in the middle, which we have for levy of about $45 for highways, $364 for the expense side, and so on and so forth. And then at the very bottom, you will see the numbers that we reviewed before, the 777, because this includes the HRA, and the 2,213 from the expense side. Levy, 777, and on the expense side, 2,213. Included in our budget and included in the numbers I provided already are these appropriation for libraries and agencies. In total, we have appropriated or recommended an appropriation of almost $2 million. Most of those goes to the libraries in our county. And some of that also goes to, for example, the History Center here, Channel One, Legal Assistance of Olmsted County, Rochester Area Economic Development, Inc., and so forth. So in summary, now everybody should be very happy. You get a chance to speak, so that's good. In summary, our county levy per capita is 748, ranks lower than 61% for all Minnesota counties. The property taxes levy increased by 5.2%. The median county and HRA tax change for all residential parcels is about $39. And in 2024, residential parcels will experience the following decreases or increases in county and HRA property taxes. 23% will experience a decrease. 34% will experience no change or an increase less than $50. 30% of a parcel or residential parcels will experience an increase between $50 and $149, and 13% will experience an increase at $150 or more. Again, these are median numbers, right? Most importantly, tonight we're not adopting the budget. That takes place December 19th. Today is an opportunity for us to share information with the community about the budget, the impact of the tax levy. So for budget adoption, the meeting will take place on December 19th at 6 p.m. right on this spot. And I know there's a sign-up sheet here, so if you're interested in coming forward and addressing the board, please do so by including your name and address. We also, when you come in, please state your name and address for the record before speaking. And I'm just gonna give me just a second while I can dismantle this, move the lectern, and give you the opportunity to share your opinion, okay? Okay, floor is yours. Whoever would like to speak. I have Dan Hayes.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Dan Hayes. I'm at 716 11th Street Southwest in Rochester here. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you this evening. My recent notice of property proposed taxes for 2024 shows a 17.41% increase. I know this is not the venue to challenge this outrageous increase, but it's still relevant to my issue and worth noting here. I wanted to make you aware of that. In July of this year, I received a notice from the Olmsted County PRL Assessment Services of their intention to reappraise properties in my area and that they would conduct an inspection of the exterior of my house. I decided at that time that the accuracy of the interior space in the record should probably be verified as well, and so made an appointment for an interior inspection at the same time. In August, PRL Assessment Services concluded after the tour and measurements that the house is actually 240 square feet less than the record showed, and that I've been taxed on 240 square feet more than I should have been for 28 years, the time I've lived there. Subsequently, the PRL Assessment Services revised sketch was not offered to me, as one would reasonably expect. I had to request it. Neither would the representative volunteer how much the 240 square feet reduction would reduce my property value. I had to ask several times, actually. Finally, the representative said it would be about $30,000, but the reduction would not automatically be applied, they said, nor would there be a refund for past years of overcharges, which I understand has been done many times in the past according to policy of the county. But in fact, I would have to apply for a general abatement that would be reviewed and possibly rejected. In later conversations with a PRL supervisor, I was told the valuation reduction would be $14,000. Later still, I was told by the same supervisor it would be $20,000. In the process of completing the application for a general abatement, including a request to reduce the first floor square footage from 1879 to 1639, which is the 240 square foot reduction per PRL's assessment, I called the PRL supervisor to verify true valuation reduction figure that should be included in the application and mentioned, as I was originally told, after the inspection that the reduction would be $30,000. The supervisor agreed it should be $30,000. As a side note, the valuation process here strikes me as being flawed and that it appears to be based more on subjectivity and less on fact. On Wednesday of this week, I completed and delivered the application for the general abatement to the county PRL office. I've since been notified that my proposed tax, based on the correction of the year's long-standing 240 square foot county valuation error, would now be $66.80, reduced from $73.38, a difference of $458. For 28 years, I've been overcharged for 240 square feet due to the county's valuation error. I am due reimbursement of overcharges I have paid all those years due to the county's valuation error. I trusted the county to assess my home fairly and accurately. My trust was clearly misguided. I wonder how many other homeowners are being taxed on non-existent square footage. I believe a refund is due to me. The abatement policy should be fair and equitable to all and not just favor the county, which I believe is where it is right now. I don't think I would, nor would I expect to be made completely whole on this, but it should be the current year plus 2 years back at least in terms of a refund. Thank you for your time and consideration. Tried to be brief.
Thank you.
Do you have any questions of me? Okay.
Thank you.
To the witness, Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have that scripted out or not, but it would be helpful for me at least to be able to read it.
Yes, I have
We
this.
could.
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, we have a lengthy email from Mr. Hayes and a lengthy response from Julie
Okay.
Hagman, which we have just emailed to all of your inboxes so you can see all the answers and the comments from Mr. Hayes.
Thank you, Mr.
Can I provide this to you?
Sounds like we're getting it.
Yeah,
Sounds like we're getting it in our email box right now.
Yeah.
So
My comments?
saying it.
are they different
I
than
think
your
we're
email?
getting whatever correspondence you had with the department. We're getting your original email, and their response to you is what the
Okay.
administrator says
But
has
Dave, you
been sent
wanted
to us.
my comments tonight?
And do you want those as well?
I thought that's what you
Sure,
requested.
It depends on whether or not what your email reflects what you just, I mean, is it essentially the same, or is there additional information that you shared there?
It's somewhat different. It may be helpful to have
You
this.
should leave it with me, and we'll
Yep.
get copies.
If you could give a copy to this.
Give it, or could give
to
it to
the
the county administrator,
clerk,
and
so
she'll
we
make
could,
copies for us.
go over here. Over here, there's the administrator. We can.
Thank you,
we can
Mr.
get
Hayes.
that.
Thank you, Mr. Hayes. All right.
Restate the,
Jay or Jerry Larson?
I'm wondering if we restate the count.
LJ?
I don't know what the county policy is.
Okay. Then Wayne?
Hello, board members. Once again, as always, thank you for your public service. I know county government work has a lot of mandates, and it takes a lot of work. So I really do appreciate you and the staff, so thank you. I'm here to respectfully request that the annual allocation for 2024 be maintained at the 2023 levels. And I would just like to reiterate, I think I've spoken with many of you before, but just to reiterate for the record, a few points. State statute, as you know, going back decades, explicitly allows county governments to allocate funds specifically to county historical societies. Doesn't require it, but it explicitly allows it. And although there are many nonprofits that are eligible to receive allocations, I shouldn't say none, I don't know that's the case, but county historical societies are explicitly allowed, or counties are allowed to explicitly allocate funds. I think that's an important distinction to keep in mind as you look at where to distribute those levy dollars that are distributed in that manner. Of the many, and I've been told since I've arrived here in Rochester and Olmsted County, and as you all are aware, there are many, many, many nonprofits in Rochester and Olmsted County. But I think it is also true that none does what the History Center does, let alone for the entire county. There are no other organizations. And I'm a firm believer in social services, housing, but I would encourage you not to view it as a zero-sum game between social services and the humanities and history and public history and museums. The History Center's mission reaches into every corner of the county, into every township. We have constituents, audience, if you will, in every township. And not all nonprofits, and many can't say that. I think it's also important to keep in mind, it's sometimes forgotten among policymakers, especially when you have limited public dollars and many needs, that missions like the History Center, which is singular in Olmsted County, contribute to Olmsted County's vitality, its community vitality. It may contribute in a different way than some of the social services nonprofits, but it is an absolute part of the community vitality. Without an organization, without public heritage, without public history, you do not have the community vitality. And it's not just me saying that. The Knight Foundation and the Urban Institute and many, many other organizations have done studies to show that community vitality is strengthened through heritage organizations and arts organizations. For example, through community attachment. It's not by accident that people want to stay in Rochester, Olmsted County. It's through places like the History Center and other public heritage organizations. It's not an accident, right? And there are studies to show that. And I would encourage you, and I'd be happy to share them with you. The other part that's important is social bridging. So organizations like History Center of Olmsted County bridge between different communities that are siloed and, if you will, not in a racial way, but segregated. And the History Center is an organization that does that social bridging. And it happens all the time in our museum, at our historic sites, between folks who would never come across each other. And finally, I would just encourage, and Mark, I know you and I have talked about this, to compare apples to apples. I'm from Winona County. Olmsted County has very little in common with Olmsted County, except that we happen to be located in southeastern Minnesota. If you look at the population, if you look at the gross domestic product, there's no comparison. And I would similarly suggest that Hennepin County doesn't have a lot in common with Olmsted County, because there is a unique feature to greater Minnesota cities. And I've made that point before, so just underline it. So in closing, I just would respectfully ask that the county commissioners to maintain our 2023 budget. So thank you. And if you have any questions.
Commissioner Tyne?
I appreciate, you do a very good job for the History Center tonight, and I appreciate the History Center, and I think you find the whole board appreciates the History Center. But I just want to remind you that the History Center is our top voluntary recipient of levy dollars in the county. I mean, and it's a third more than our next one. So what your talk was very nice. Some of the emails that I'm getting are not so nice and not so truthful. And I think people need to be reminded that these are your dollars that we're giving to one organization, and we're giving more to the History Center than any other organization in the county voluntarily. So I just don't appreciate that the tone of these emails where it sounds like we're shortchanging the History Center. We've funded the History Center at a very high level for a number of years, and we've had contracts with the History Center or letters with the History Center for warning that we need to scale down, because we just can't. We're not the federal government. We can't print money. So all we do is we confiscate money from you and we give it to you. And we spend hours battling over whether we're going to add $10,000 to something. I mean, I'm sure a lot of you think that a lot of you opened your property tax statements and we're not happy. You're not here because you're wishing that we tax you more. And we appreciate that. And so when we have our budget meetings, they can get heated, and we watch every dollar. So I understand a perspective that going from $200,000 to $239,000 is just a little bit in a budget, a levy budget that's $125 million. It is just a little bit, but it's still $40,000. So I just want to make sure that your audience appreciates it.
Yeah, and on behalf of my members and volunteers, I hope that they were fair and also honored public service. I share factual. It all comes down to choices. I understand that, and so I hear you on that. I think ultimately my job is to advocate for that.
Right. No, not personal.
And is other commissioners have a comment?
I think I would just say that there was a number of miscommunications in what was communicated to your board and donors, including a letter I recently received as one of your donors. And it, from the county board's perspective, it did not reflect the way we've been trying to work with you for 3 years to give you full warning of potential budget changes, and a couple of years of softening that. That being said, I think this is an issue that some on the board really do think that, so let's see, how would I put this? We've had unfortunate miscommunication. I think that there is consideration for what should happen moving forward, but I think you will have to keep in mind, whatever we decide, that reflecting to your donors and to your board what's been communicated by the county board and our rationale is also on you. And so some of us have felt unfairly criticized when there was really a lot of communication in advance. That being said, there's some of us who feel very strongly that we don't necessarily, I'm not sure what the board's going to do. I think there are discussions on, and should we stay at the 2023 level, even though we had warned you that we would be making changes. I don't think anyone wants to hurt the History Center. And the reports that I'm hearing are that under your leadership, there's a lot more dynamic activity underway, and a lot more feeling of optimism and future for your future as a History Center. And I know my colleague here, Senator Senjum, has helped you secure some of the funding that you need to be able to do long-awaited projects. So that gives a lot of optimism as well. But I think the crux of the matter is trying to really be fair to all, trying to keep our taxes to our citizens low, looking at having to increase funding for, as you saw in that chart, for some of the very real human needs. And you are we don't fund many humanities-oriented things. The libraries could be in that category, but we're required to fund libraries. So, all of that being said, there's always lessons to be learned when there's miscommunication, and I don't think you should feel that the county board doesn't support the History Center, because we do.
Thank you. Yep, I understand that.
Other commissioners? Other commissioners?
Well, Mr. Chair, thank you very much, and thank you, Wayne. I don't know about the miscommunication. I'll just accept the fact that maybe there was. But I will tell you that it's probably because of me, and as we met as a History Center board, and I would say this to any board that I might be on: if you believe in something, you advocate. You step up and you state your desires, your wishes. This is a democracy that we have here, and if you want to come to the altar of government and state your case, as you have done tonight, Wayne, and others have in other ways, that is what our democracy is all about. And we give and we take and we to and we fro, but that's government. That's why we're here, and I appreciate you being here tonight and stating your cause.
Okay.
Because I know you believe in it, and I know that this board that I became part of just this year, I have just a tremendous amount of respect for it, and I know the History Center is, and I was on it in the 90s, and I would say it was probably on the way down. This board is moving the History Center on the way up, and I respect that a lot, and we want to be supportive of that. Thank you.
So, thank you for your comments.
Okay, thank you.
I think something important that you might have failed to mention was last year we also gave you about $50,000 to fix your roof.
Right.
I don't recall getting any thank you notes from your board for that. So I think that we've gone a long way to help the History Center and show how important that is. So It was a little disconcerting when I got letters that were printed by the board that was totally misinformation and inaccurate about the percentage of cut that you were getting, or that the board had decided on giving. And then lastly, and again, I don't know what the board will do, but the board looks at the budget every year, and there may be some on the board that will say, well, okay, if you get more this year, maybe you shouldn't expect as much in the following years. So it's kind of also like saying you really do have to work towards a funding source so that you're not going to expect as much from the county. But again, that's a year-by-year decision. So thank you very much for your comments.
You're welcome. Thank you for your feedback as well. Appreciate that.
Who's next on the list?
I don't have anybody else on the list, but if anybody else would like to approach the board, feel free to do so.
Okay. I'll call again. Is there anybody else here who wishes to speak? Is there anybody else here who wishes to speak?
There's a gentleman there.
There you go, one.
Brent, okay. Thank you.
Hello, thank you.
Can you give us your name and your address, please?
Yep, it's Brad Gelming, 2901 125th Street, Northwest Orinoco.
Thank you.
And I apologize if I'm using your time unfairly here tonight. And I apologize for getting here late. I drove over from Austin. I had to work tonight, so. Anyway, I guess I'm just looking for a little direction on
SLV is now exiting.
Somebody just sorry
Okay.
about that.
I'm just looking for a little direction. Maybe this isn't the venue on the property tax, but our property tax on our home this year, we've got 2 parcels of land. One's going up 18.86%, and another one is going up 25.67%. Of the one that is going up the 25.67% since 2021, if I add all the years of increases, it's over 34%. I guess I'm just a little, confused and wondering what would be the process of having somebody reevaluate that?
Sure.
You weren't here early when we said that if you have questions about your assessment, that we have the assessor here, right back there, and that's who you want to talk to and about how you would
SLV
assessment.
Okay,
is now joining.
okay,
Right? So if you'd like to just visit with Julie here just a little bit, she'll make an appointment with you or talk about
okay.
how you would do
I
that.
appreciate that, yeah, it's just, the other issue too that I was in question of a little bit was, we live out on roughly 20 acres of land, and we own another 72 acres of farmland. 70 acres of it's tillable. But yet we're not allowed to have our homesteading as agricultural. So that was just the other question that I had, why that is, because within my same rough neighborhood, I pulled up on the property map, other similar parcels, same acreage, similar setups, and they're zoned 2A ag, where we're being
Sure.
looked at as residential, so,
That's another question.
They should be able to answer that one too, yeah.
okay, I appreciate it, and thank you. Yeah, I wasn't sure if this was the
Well,
right.
that's okay.
This is common, so it's
You talk to Julie, she'll arrange a time for you to come in and talk about your issue.
Okay, and thank you all for your service and time. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, can just also, that,
Yes.
the classification itself is really a function of state government, so he should
Right,
talk to his legislators about that.
sure. Thank you for that information. Is there anybody else here who wishes to comment? Is there anybody else here who wishes to address the board? The last time, is there anybody else here who wishes?
We're not that bad.
Board? No, all right. So we'll accept a motion to adjourn,
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
all right?
Probably just second.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.